Okay, thank you for joining us, everyone, from wherever you're joining us from today. My name is Ayoola, and today my guest is Samuel Akiloton. Okay, I'm not going to say things I know about Samuel. I'm going to introduce Samuel, and then we'll kick off the session. This session is loaded. There are a lot of few questions I'm going to be asking Samuel. There are a lot of clarity that people are going to get, and there are a lot of things that people are going to take away from this session. Even if you're not going to take anything away from this session, I would say that listen to Samuel when he's talking, not me. Samuel is a friend, and I can say he's a colleague. We have worked on the same project at different times, and I know that it was a success. Okay, Samuel is a seasoned management consultant and a career coach with over a decade of experience in talent acquisition, talent management, and organizational development across diverse sectors, including banking, FMCG, retail, hospitality, consulting. His expertise lies in designing strategic, people-centric HR solutions that drives business performance and foster inclusive workplace culture. Through his career, Samuel has led strategic initiatives in talent acquisition, employer brand, technical and diversity recruiting, and competency management. His thought leadership and experience has solidified his reputation as a transformative HR leader and recognized as a global HR influencer and professional with insights featured in notable industry publications, researches, and events. Beyond his corporate achievement, Samuel is passionate about workplace success for career professionals and bridging the capability gap between education and employment for youth. There's a question around that. Watch out for that. Samuel has an MBA from Excellence Business School, participated in executive education at London School of Economics, and membership with Human Resource Certification Institute, CIPD UK, Talent Management Institute, and Global Institute of Organizational Development Professional. All said about Samuel. I would say that thank you so much, Samuel, for joining us today, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us from wherever you are joining us from today. So, Samuel, I'm very much aware, that is my first question. I'm very much aware that what you studied in school, your field of study, is totally different from what you do currently. Can you just give us in a very short experience, how did you do that? What happened?
So I would say that the journey started for me when I was in my third year in uni, and it was an interesting experience because I was studying biochemistry. Just to put some context to that, I was studying biochemistry in uni, which is a world apart from what I'm currently doing today as an HR professional.
Yes, please.
And back then in my third year, I was doing fine with my grades, honestly. So it was not even a struggle. I was doing fine with my grades. I still had some interest around biochemistry at that time, but I realized that a good number of times they were not things that excite me. They were not things that I felt gave me life. And fortunately for me, in my third year, as I was a student leader as well, and we had the opportunity to organize a career day for students just like myself. I think I was doing it with one of my friends then, Bimbo. And as we coordinated this, we had to bring in Fortunately for us back then, we had alumni from University of Lagos that studied biochemistry that are in different fields and working in human resources. And we just said, okay, you know what? We would want to bring them to come and speak to us about workplace readiness and all of these things since they work in human resources. And I remember very well one very important person is Dayton Hogwell, which we still my mentor gratefully till today. And she's an HR professional with a background in biochemistry. I did not even know a whole lot about what human resources or HR was all about back then. So when she came, she spoke to us about her transition into human resources. She spoke about, what she does, her work is around people development, how she's passionate about it. And, just setting responsibilities, identifying talent, being able to identify talent, coming on campus to see, really, really sharp young
Mm-hmm.
potential leaders in unis, in schools, and identifying them for the workplace. And she was talking about how she develops programs to also help people develop skills for the workplace. I was just like, I'm not even going to lie. It was in a main auditorium in Unilag then. I just pointed and I said, "This is what I want to become like." I'm being honest. I just said, "This is what I want to become like."
Mm.
And after the conversation, I just caught up with her briefly. I did my own research around, what human resources. And I'm like, this looks like what I want to really do. I gratefully at that time as well. I started attending HR events where HR professionals were leading conversations there. At that time as well, I think another person that greatly influenced me was Arosa or Seminge, which I'm pretty sure is a very senior leader, a top leader as well in the HR space. And I listened to him as well at another event. And all of those following such thought leaders in human resources at that time greatly influenced me. Some personal learning as well helped me evolve into an HR position. And in my third year, fortunately, I just got an internship with a management consulting firm, which exposed me to the bits of, training, recruitment, a bit of it at that time. And it was amazing.
Okay, that's fantastic. It is to know, it's good to know what you want to do, right? And I think I get that. And for anyone listening, I would say that most of the time, sometimes as an undergraduate, people don't even know the career path they want to take. It's easier when you listen, and that speaks to showing up and taking responsibility. Okay, that takes me to my next question. So, how can you describe a defining moment in your career that shaped where you are today?
That a defining moment for me that I would say would be is one of the work experiences I had in my final year. I was work
Mm-hmm.
studying. And the reason I would say it was a defining moment for me is because I was privileged to work with an amazing, person back then, Bankole Williams. And I had some exposure to, to government, to go to government sector, to public sector at that time, where I was learning under some people in government, honestly. And I saw certain things that were being done that I did not, personally, the way I was raised, the way I was brought up, did not align with what they were doing there. But it looked exciting, to be in public sector. And I was
Mm-hmm.
working.
Very true.
Fortunately, Bankole was even mentoring me then before I even started working with him fully. And one of the advices he told me, he asked me down the line is that, if you were still doing what you are doing in that space 10 years from now and doing it the way they are doing it, because he told me that it will be a big challenge for you to go in and change a system. There has to be more
Mm.
people like you
Very
to change
true.
systems.
Yeah,
So he
that's
said,
true.
if you would, do you think it would be easier for you to change, how things are being done in there? And 10 years down the line, do you think you'll be happy doing it? And I just thought about it that I didn't know I wanted to do human resources. And it was just the whole idea of being able to nation building. That was the whole interest in public sector at that time. And I just thought, what, that is not it for me. And that was the time I got to work with him. And it was foundational for me as well
Mm.
because a whole lot of things around work etiquette I learned it from
Mm-hmm.
Bankole at that time, doing things the right way,
Yeah.
management when it comes to the fundamentals of management consulting, managing key stakeholders, because it exposed me
Mm.
to C-level professionals at that time in my final year. So I would say that experience is very, very pivotal for me and it greatly influenced me
Yeah.
even all through my career till today.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Samuel. So I know that is very good as we're sharing this. Like at least I know some of these things, and because we have worked on employability and business career summits together for an institution. One thing I want to confirm and I want to ask is what habits or daily practices have consistently contributed to your career growth?
When it comes to habit, I think the first thing for me is I'm a learner, I'm a student. Every day of my life, I'm
Fantastic.
a learner, I'm a student. I'm always seeking opportunities. If I tell you the things I'm currently learning, that you'll be shocked because
Mhm.
I'm learning things around tech even more these days. I'm
Yeah.
doing research around AI. I just want to stay abreast of trends that are shaping the workplace, trends that are shaping how we do work, that trends that are shaping how people do work, trends that are shaping people behavior in the workplace, trends that are shaping how we communicate, because this also affects people management in the workplace. So I'm always reading around, industry trends, workplace trends, global trends, even from the political perspective. I'm also reading around things like this. So I'm a learner, I'm a student every other day, and that's why I'm always looking out for. Personally, I have a goal, and it's a lifelong goal of always learning one key thing every year. And I'm not talking about a book or anything. One key thing that I did not know about this area before now, and I'm going to learn something around this area. Last year, I did things around digital transformation, and I was doing system thinking, design thinking. I mean, in-depth knowledge in that area. This year, I'm doing things more around tools. I'm looking to identify certain tools in the workplace. So one of the habits for me would be definitely be learning. Another thing I think habit that has also kept me going is having a reflective journal. It's more of a reflective and gratitude journal, because I'll be honest, as a growing into this adulting, as we call it, and all it comes with its own peculiar challenges. So it's very important to keep in touch, with yourself, because you can't give what you don't have. And I'm saying this not from the perspective of knowledge, but from wellness. From a wellness perspective, you have to take care of yourself. And emotionally, mentally, I think those areas are very important. So I keep a reflective journal, and a gratitude journal that I'm super grateful for certain things. And even on the days where things are not going the way you want it, knowing that the journey has been exciting, it has been interesting, you have a reflective space you can always return to express gratitude for the journey. That also keeps me, really there. Another thing, I think, which the third thing I would also mention is, keeping in touch with, people in my network. There is nobody knows it all, and I'm always happy to reach out to my network, ask questions. I say that, and I think it's a Yoruba proverb that says that if you want to see far, you stand on the shoulder of elders. I'm always happy to, and sometimes it's not even just elders. There are people out there that are younger than you, that have learned things that are probably more trendy than you, information I don't have access to, that they know. So it is always just keeping in touch, asking questions. And I remember very well, one of the first things I learned, and I said again, when from working with Bankole back then, is he said something. He said, um, it is the quality of questions you ask that will determine the quality of answers you get. And it is the quality of answers you get that will determine, your actions and outputs, basically. So I'm always asking questions. I'm always, curious. I think that's another habit I would put into it. Staying in touch with my network and being curious. Sorry, I think you are muted. I can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Samuel. I am going to take you back not one step, just to clarify, because when I coach people, sometimes people say, "Oh, I study this, and I don't even know why I studied this particular course, but now this is what I love to do." But in the actual sense, they are not even doing what they claim to love to do, and what they study. They are confused. So there's a confusion.
Yes.
So my question is going to be, how did you overcome doubt and criticism when switching from your original field of study to HR currently?
Fantastic. And I think that's a very good question. And I would put it this way. The first thing I did was to understand that my degree was a foundation. And
Correct.
a
Very
lot a
true.
lot of times also because I'm now in I'm now in a workplace. I've been in a workplace where I've managed people at different level. You can
Mm-hmm.
averagely tell the difference between people that are grounded in their
Mm.
education and people that are not super grounded, even when the workplace skills are there. So I think
That's true.
my education was a very, very good foundation for me. The assurance and self confidence I had built, in my own, knowing I could succeed at first of all to get a graduate
Mm-hmm.
degree, was
Yeah,
gave me some level of confidence.
that's
However,
true.
I'll be
Very true.
very honest. Um, there was also some self doubt, at the beginning of it. And I remember when I'd just gone done with my national youth service at that time. I went for an interview, and I'll be honest, someone pretty much known in the HR space back then, interviewed me for an internship. And the question the person asked me was that, do I think I'm confused? Because I studied biochemistry and I want to work in human resources. And, I would be very honest, it took me maybe a few days to get over that. It took me a few days to get over that because it made me feel like, okay, am I really confused? Or is it just because it feels like I feel good? And the only way I could overcome that is going back to the assurance, as I said, that I've done certain things before now that I have succeeded at. I am convinced I really want to do this. I have seen myself do things related to what this career path offers, and I think I will thrive at them. So it was more reflective for me, as I think about it, retrospectively now. So it's more reflective for me, going back to identify it myself. I really want to do this. Nobody's pushing me. Even the inspiration I got from people that were currently doing it, it's not as though they sat me down to convince me. And the conviction came naturally at that time. And also because I mentioned that some internship in my third year and my fourth year. I worked in an HR consulting firm and a management consulting firm. The responsibilities I did at that time, they came to me naturally, easily, and effortlessly. I was not struggling. So, it was those convictions that helped me overcome that self-doubt, that came a bit at the beginning of it for my career. So yes, I would say it is just really leaning in to say what is really convincing me to make this change and what have I done previously, my education to reinforce, the fact that I can really do this. That was more of it for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Samuel. And I'll say this because I know that we are I can say we are in both same shoe. I studied mass communication, and currently I'm a human resource professional. I can say I'm
Fantastic.
a coach, I'm a trainer, I can facilitate any session. And I think I can say this, that one of the things that gave me that nudge to be able to say this is what I want to follow is because one of the critical things that I love to do is to empower people to become better at what they do. And I look, what can I express this passion? It's going to be this, or this. And I thought, you know what? I'll do it in human resources. And luckily for me, I did my first internship, my first year. And
Oh,
I was told,
imagine.
oh, you want, and my manager asked me, what do you want to, career path do you want to follow when you was told when you are done with school? I said, human resources. He looked at me and he held my hand and took me to the HR and said,
Wow.
I brought this guy for you. He doesn't want to be in admin, he wants to be in HR. And the rest is history now. Because sometimes it's always also good to know what you want. And I'm also going to say that sometimes if you don't know what to do, it's not a bad thing. It's because you don't know. And when you don't know, what do? You seek advice, you seek clarity. And you said something previously before this question, answer this question. You talked about gratitude, you talked about goals. I have a strategy that I use. I call it smarter goals. So it's different, quote and unquote, from the usual one we do because we say be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. That is to set your goals. But to achieve your goals, you have to be smarter.
Yes.
So, which is strategy, milestone, breaking it down,
Mm,
taking prompt action. Resources can be people or
Yes.
money, which you mentioned. I'm getting somewhere. And the T stands for team. So people that are in your circle that you can easily
Mm.
ask questions, that you can easily talk to, check more resources from, and you can be accountable to them, regardless either they are your peer or they are your senior colleague. And E
Yes.
stands for evaluation. You evaluate
Mm.
your strategy, your milestone, your action, your resources, team, and then if it works, you do you repeat the process and it
Yes.
becomes a process. But if it doesn't work, you review thoroughly and then see what you did not do right and then shoot. So that takes me to what I know you mentioned something about that, and I think I can't say less because you mentioned BW. I'm also learning from me directly or indirectly. What is the place of mentorship in
Mm.
life or personal um, career development, and also how do you think one can find a good mentor?
I would say mentors are game changers. Mentors are game changers. And I would also try to separate it a bit from role models because a lot of people
Yeah,
misconstrue
yeah, two
role
different things.
models with
Yes, please. Yes,
mentors.
please.
Role model is someone you look up, you look up to,
Yes, please.
and maybe you are actively or passively learning from them. But mentors are people that you have direct access to that can give you
Mm-hmm.
feedback, guide you, direct you. But I would say mentors are game changers, honestly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
some of the major decisions I've made in my career have been guided by mentors. Even from relocating, I've been guided by mentors. So I would say most of some of the the key decisions I've made in my life, I've been guided by mentors because there are people that have gone ahead of you on a journey. It's just as though when we have what do we call this thing, Google Maps or Apple Maps as we have it. The reason we can navigate a path easily is because there's something that has gone ahead to measure the time it will take to complete that journey, to know the number of turns you have to take, on that journey. It's because something has gone ahead to do that. So that is also the role of mentors. They guide us from, and there are times where they are also the voice of reason for us to see things from a bigger perspective.
Very true.
I would bring it back a bit. I remember a time in my career where I had about two job offers. I was working, and I had about two job offers. One was offering
That's a
me,
good problem, by the way. That's a good problem.
one was offering me about about some 80% increase on my current pay at that time. And trust me, I was earning decent. What it was offering me
Mm-hmm.
was taking me to, in Nigeria, I think it's seven figures or something like that. It was taking me to seven figures. And then I had another offer at that time that was giving me like a 10% or 15% pay cut. Pay cut at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh my God, this is more money. Why do I want to go and take a pay cut? And this role
Mm-hmm.
is this, is that. And then in one of the things I did, I spoke with two of my mentors, and I'll be honest, they gave me the same feedback. And the feedback was number one, which one of these roles do you think takes you to where you want to be 5 years from now? That's the first question they asked me. Next question was, what is the next thing for you even in your career, like 1 or 2 years? Which one do you think offers
Mm-hmm.
it when it comes to responsibilities, knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
this, autonomy, career development? And when they asked me all the
Mm-hmm.
question, I knew the right
You know
answer
your
that,
answer.
oh my God.
You know the answer before. You just want to
Yes,
clarify.
yes.
Yeah.
So no, to be honest, so it's not like I knew the answer. I had a preference because hey,
Okay.
why would I not go for an 80% pay increase?
Yes, please.
So, but the thing is, it gave me more perspective, and where I'll take you to further is when I relocated, the role that I was, after they advised me, the role I moved into that I accepted, which was the pay cut in quote at that time. When I moved to London, every employer I spoke with asked me about that experience. They were
Correct.
just saying,
See.
"Oh, can you tell us?" Because yeah, it was a global brand I moved to, so everybody was
Mm-hmm.
asking me questions around. Oh, can you tell us what you did at this organization? What were your responsibilities? And when I was sharing with them, no, that's holistic. That's like,
Mm-hmm.
really really good. And I would say that it is also one of the experiences that gave me that broader perspective around even how a lot of things connect in HR, because I was more specialist prior to that time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have seen that perspective in real time. I mean, I can only see it retrospectively, but in that real time, trust me, I was going to follow the money, and that's the truth. So that's the place of mentors. They guide us because they look way beyond where we are, and a lot of times as well, they are not emotionally connected to our decisions, so they can see things that we do not see. They can see things that we do not see. So they help us in pivoting our thinking, in guiding us on our decisions. It's not like they'll make decisions for you, but they'll just help you see things clearer and better. So I think that's the impact of mentors. I'm super grateful for those that have mentored me in my career. Super grateful for them. And to find yes,
Go ahead.
and
Go
to
ahead.
find to find a mentor, I always say the first thing is clarity. Be clear on what you want to learn. That's the first place to start from. So it's not just good enough to say, oh, I've seen this person, they dress nice, or I've seen this person, their career looks fantastic. No. Do you think clarity, what do you want to learn? That's the first question. What do you want? What do you need? Do you think this person can offer it to you? Do you think this person has some level of success in also that area that you're looking to get into? So it is asking yourself, first of all, questions. Ask him. And a lot of times as well, mentors do not have to only be someone that is ahead of you. It would also be a peer. It could also be a peer. But that would be more maybe peer mentoring and things like that.
Yes.
So after now being clear around what you want, can they offer it to you? The next question, which is like very important as well, is how can you add value?
Correct.
That's the next key question. How can I add value? Go and research. Look at the person's profile. What do they do? How can I add value? Do they train? What projects do I see them, being involved with? How can I add value to them? That's like the very, very good, question to ask ourselves as well. And the final question, I see a lot of questions. The final question there is, how can you build trust? How can you build trust? Because mentoring as well is a trust-based relationship. They have to trust you that when they advise you, you are open-minded to newer perspective. If you advise a person once, twice, thrice generously, and they are not following advice, and then they keep having, challenges or facing issues with the decisions they decided to go with, as a mentor, you might not trust them in the future to be open-minded. So it is very important as well to ask yourself, how can I build trust with this, person that I'm looking to add value to and, get them to be my mentor?
Thank you so much, Samuel. It's like you pick it up from my mind. Because I see that most of the time people or mentees, if I can use the word mentees, always want to receive from mentors without even trying to sit down to say, oh, what does my mentor need? I have few people that I can call my mentor, because from what you said, the most important thing in mentoring your mentorship is access. You have a direct access to this person, and for role models, you're just admiring them. And even as role models, you're not even doing what they have said they are doing. So you can't even, in actual sense, they are not your role model. You're only the one trying to say, oh, they are my role model. But for mentorship, I think I posted sometimes, like I said, mentees should not be a tormentor to their mentors too.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, so mentees should not be a tormentor, and mentors should also not be tormentor to their mentees, both ways, right? However, one of the critical things that I think I can say that there's somebody that I can say, Ayoola, I think I can take you as my mentee. And I'm like, oh, really? Why? If I tell you what I did, it's just a simple thing. I asked, so Ayoola, do you have these slides? I said, let me check. And I checked and I said, I don't have that slide. I said, okay, send me the topic. And I decided to sit down for like a few hours in 3 days. And I came up with the slides. And I sent to him like after 3 days. He was like, fantastic. Really? Why? I've been able to add one way or the other value to him, which I have seen around the world these days, that most of the time mentees only want to get. They don't even want to say, oh, you see that this person is doing a lot. So when it comes to the organization of what they do, is not in place, and you see they are lagging behind in this as a mentee, or you want to have access to them, if you offer to do that, or you just do it and send to them, it helps them
Yes.
to be able to say, oh, somebody is even watching and is able to pick this, that I need help in this area. And let me
Yeah.
also say,
Right.
everyone is learning in different things.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a mentor, there's something that they need help with. Even when you think that you have easy access to them, I can tell you for free, there is something, one, two, three, four things they too need help with. But
Yes.
sometimes they don't want to bother you with it because they are your mentors. By default, from what you said, over time, when you build trust, it's easier for you to be able to see that and help them to be able to become better in that area. And I know I've done that with a few people, and that has given me easy access to a lot of resources. And learning for me is a continuous process. So that takes
Yes.
me to the next thing I'm going to be saying. I'm asking you. So when it comes to learning, I know you have touched on it, but I really want. I know sometimes when we do this session, sometimes we sound vulnerable, not because we want to, but because of the experience, the journey that we have followed to be able to ensure we get to where we are. So, what would you say about um, lifelong learning as an improvement to improving your career or to advance your career? What do you have to say to that?
I would say I like using analogies. It's just like if you want to drive a car, um,
Mm-hmm.
lifelong learning is the fuel. There is no car that is going anywhere without fuel in it. There is no car
Correct.
that is going nowhere without. You might start it,
Except
it
it's
will come
electric.
on.
Yes.
But the battery, the electric
Mm.
is also some form of energy.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
I would say it is a fuel, and yeah, it's not just like the liquid fuel now. So just
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned, so it is what
Mm-hmm.
provides energy. That form of fuel is the lifeblood. I think that's just another way to put it for any serious career professional. And the reason is because
Mm.
industries are evolving. We know that. What I knew HR to be when I started my career is not what it is today. And
It's different.
I'm not talking about years ago.
It's
Some
different. Last
yeah,
year.
some 10, 15 years ago, AI is not the key thing. I've seen how AI is changing a lot of things. The evolution into tools, is not as strong as it is 10, 15 years ago. Things around multi-generational conversations is not as strong as 10, 15 years ago. So industries are evolving. The global workspace is evolving. Even the talent market is evolving, right from global immigration right now, influencing where you can get talents from. It means it is more
Mm-hmm.
competitive out there, and there's a need to upskill. In our parents' generation, jobs are averagely advertised in newspapers, and once you have
Yeah.
access to that, it's just local talents mostly.
Mm-hmm.
For you to get a job probably in America, in the UK, in Europe, you have to be there physically. But we now have people working from different parts of the world. And the
Yes.
reason that opportunity is possible is because people that have positioned themselves to tap into, the evolution of the workplace, the, evolution of the talent market are those that have intentionally prioritized their learning. They are
Hmm.
those that have prioritized them. So that is why it is first of all very important. Everything is evolving. I'm sure good number of us have heard VUCA before. We're in a
Yeah.
volatile. I think it has even changed now because it's even much more complex now.
Yes, Jim. More
It
complex,
is
yeah.
yes, it is changing every other day. Away from even technology changing it, global politics actually we can see is
Change it.
also
Yes, yes.
influencing a whole lot of things. It also means
Mm-hmm.
for some countries right now, they are saying for you to get a visa, you must be highly skilled. What does highly skilled mean? A person that is not prioritizing lifelong learning, that is not even consciously, continuously learning, will find it challenging to tap into such talent markets because they're not prioritizing it. So it is very, very important when it comes to opportunities. So growth, first of all. Second thing is opportunities. And I think the third thing as well is lifelong learning makes us relevant,
Mm.
even to
Very
people in
true.
our lives. That
Mm.
is the foundation of resourcefulness. That's the
Yes,
foundation of
please.
resourcefulness, lifelong learning. I
Mm.
know people right now that I know that if I need some support around, like you now, if I know that I need someone in an area, I can come to you confidently that this person will do it. This person would.
Mm.
There are people that they can say, oh, I need to get this thing done, and you are not available, and you can close your eyes and say
Mm-hmm.
this person will do it. It is because
Very true.
they've prioritized lifelong learning, which has made them resourceful. They've developed
Mm.
themselves. So I think it is very, very important, even for us, and I'm not saying it has benefits to even other people. Growth for us individually, growing through your
It's
career,
relative.
entry
Mm-hmm.
level to middle management to senior management. The second bit as well is opportunities. It gives you more access to opportunities, and it
Very
also
true.
keeps us relevant. Even in our
Mm.
relationship with mentors, with peers. So those are
Mm.
things that makes us really relevant. So yes, it's very, very important.
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel. And the same way I came to you too, because I know we had worked on different projects. And for me, I think one of the things that I do to be able to evolve or grow in a career is to be able to understand, okay, I'm trying to do this. What can I do? Who can I talk to? How do I go about this? It gives us that sense of responsibility, even when it's like designing slides that you don't even know, you don't have a place to present it, right?
Yes.
And I know I've done that, and I know you have done that in the time past because it was easier. I could remember when like six of us came together, courtesy Nike, bringing all of us together from different fields,
Yes.
and we were able to do that project. And at the same time, Talent Refinery, if I can remember, we go
Yes.
there almost every three months, quote and unquote, for free to do a session and go because
Yes.
why my friend is organizing this or a colleague. And I can also say that that has an impact is building us for quote and unquote what we really need to do. And because the moment you are given the topic to present, you go back to research, you sit down, have conversation, see what you are applicable in your organization, and then go back to improve on it. Because it is taking responsibility for me. It is not enough to say I want to improve, but how? What are you doing? What are the things you're doing? Like you said, HR is sorry, AI is here, and I see that somebody said, and I agree, is only those people that did not embrace AI that AI will take their job because you are not embracing the AI. So it is taking self responsibility that leads to self improvement through lifelong learning. Learning
Yes.
can never be
Absolutely.
one size. And I
Definitely.
used to say that I learn different things, different things, different things, just because I just need to know about it. And if I need to go deeper, I go deeper. Because of the privilege that I have as a human resource professional, I've sat in a panel session for an interview for different positions. You will be so shocked that the level of the things you know about different positions gives you
Yes.
edge when you have conversation with people because why? You can't just sit that in that panel because the person that you are speaking to, if they are technical position, if you are not sound, they will say a lot
Yes.
of things that are not the right thing, but you will
Yes.
smile and you will take it for it. But taking self responsibility is self improvement. And through lifelong learning, you then improve the right way. Thank you so much, Samuel. I just need to see that. So this is I'm going to ask you this question just because I know there might be someone out there that needs help regarding this because sometimes people feel like they are not motivated. And I believe that motivation starts from self. If you are not self-motivated, no one can motivate you. So the question is, how do you stay motivated to keep learning and improving?
So the first thing is that I'll start with a study that was done in the United States some years back, and that study says that if you study for 15 minutes every day, for a year, you would be 100% better than, I mean, whatever level you are right now, you'll be 100% better than you are if you consistently study something for. And they tested different groups where some people studied a certain topic. They didn't know anything about it. 15 minutes every day for a year. Another group did not study anything about it, and they tested their knowledge of that thing. And those that studied for 15 minutes were 100% better. So the first thing for me is I have a personal yearning to be a better person, for myself, first of all. So that personal demand is there. And I know that one of the ways I can become better is learning. So that keeps me motivated, first of all. The second thing is, and I think this is a bit more personal, where a good number of us, we know we have a calling. Every individual can feel it in their, if there's a good way to put it, in their spirit, that there's something much more, beyond them. They would, even if people have not found it yet, but there'll be something that you see and you feel like helping that person. There's just a yearning. There's just a yearning. Because that is how God has created us to add value, to give, to sow. And one of the ways as well for us to make impact is learning. So one thing I have done personally for me is I have tied impact to learning as well. You cannot give what you do not have.
You don't have.
So I have tied learning to impact for myself, such that from knowing that I'm passionate about people development, I'm passionate about career advisory, career coaching, I'm passionate about a good number of things. So I have tied my ability to add value to people's lives. I was on a session yesterday and someone sent me a lengthy email afterwards. And I'm like, the person said, you know what? You're like a career doctor. You have just everything that I was talking about imposter syndrome, self-care, many other things. And the person was like, you're like a career doctor. You've just, everything that I've been battling in the last 3 months around my career search, job search and all of that, you just addressed everything and that's giving her the tools, do A, B, C, D. And that is, for me, the amount I was paid for that session did not give me as much joy as that feedback, because that is impact for me. That is me adding value. So I have tied, and my ability to also be able to help someone in that situation is because I have learned certain things. So I have tied learning to impact for myself. Another thing is, and a good number of people as well they want to solve people problems, they want to solve certain problems. When we learn more, we get more insight, we get more knowledge into solving any problem that we are looking to solve. Another one I'll have to read is that there is a quote from Steve Jobs. That is graduation. That is famous graduation ceremony, and it just simply said, "Stay hungry or stay foolish." Something like that. I think something like that. So it means that if you are not hungry, if you are not yearning to know more, it is the other side of it that comes with it. So it is understanding that you need to tap into opportunities to stay competitive in the global competitive talent market that we have today. You have to be hungry, because there are people out there doing things every day. I ran into someone recently in London, and this person is a 27-year-old graduate. I'm sure we know DeepSeek, the new the person worked on the research. The person is a PhD holder. The person worked on the research that was used, the AI ML research that was involved in building that thing. This person is from Asia, and you see young people really invested in creating things that are shaking the world. So for us as well to be able to tap into opportunities, we need to keep learning. That's something that I believe is very, very important. And finally, because learning can be challenging, I always say celebrate the small wins. Celebrate it as well along the way. If you learn for 15 minutes today, if you miss tomorrow, it is fine. Continue again. Celebrate the small wins. The fact that you have the consciousness to even learn is something to celebrate. There are a whole lot of people out there that do not understand the importance of learning. So for the fact that you even come up, upon our conversation that we are having today, and you've learned that, celebrate the small wins. Also, is there something for you to even celebrate
Yeah,
because
it
you've
is. It
listened to
is.
this,
Yeah.
you've
Mm-hmm.
listened to this, and then it's just, even if it is 1 hour every week, celebrate it. It does not have to be, anything to world class, gigantic, and everything. Anything you can do that you believe is taking you closer, no matter how little, to where you want to be. Celebrate those little wins. Those are the things that keeps you motivated innately as well.
Thank you so much. Well said. So I'm going to say this. I know that there are some school of thought that believe baby step is not it. Some will say, "Oh, take a bigger step." And my question is, you have never tried anything, even if you take a bigger step or a big step, there's going to be a problem. There might be a problem. But why not try the baby step? And one thing I always say, I was having a coaching session with someone, and the person said, "Oh, I've applied for different jobs." And I asked, did you do this? But, oh, no. And I'm like, okay, according to me, according to what you have said, I think you have only applied for one job.
Ooh.
Perspective. Not several jobs, according to what you said, because there are certain things you need to put in check. And I also say that you said you want to be able to learn something new. And I said, the reason why you can't or you won't be able to do it is because you are not used to it. So it's not a thing you do daily. So I now said, let me shock you. Now, what I'm going to say might shock you, and you're like, you are not believing. I said, just learn for 5 minutes daily. He was like, oh, that's too small. I said, okay, do you do 5 minutes? The person said, no. And I said, okay, listen and take action. Do 5 minutes a day consistently. 5 minutes, so small. However, when you are consistent about it, which is one of the things I'm going to just mention to what you have said, the consistency. When you are consistent for 5 minutes daily by yourself, because this works, I'm being in that shoe, it works by yourself. You just enjoy doing that thing for 10 minutes more, for 15 minutes more, and it becomes part of you that you do it daily.
Yes.
If possible, sometimes in hours. Why? Because you are very consistent. Because that's the power of consistency. But if you don't try at all and say, "Oh, I'm looking for an hour in my calendar to be able to do this," I can always tell you, you will not be able to see that. The baby steps sometimes, depending on the context of what you're going to do, works. When it comes to learning, you just need to be able to. And if you are not feeling motivated, you just need to do it regardless. So it is not about saying that, oh, I don't feel like doing this. You don't need to feel like, just do it. That is what I say. Just do it regardless, because it is the end result that gives you that fulfillment. So, and I agree with you. I read a book recently, Happiness Advantage. It talks about the power. It's a very small, it's not like large book, but each time I read that book, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic and it's awesome, because you define and determine your happiness, not the environment or not what is happening at the moment. It is what you do part time. And if you learn something new, I don't know, for me, I just feel like, it's like I've made a lot of money. That is where I see it. I don't know if you are like that. But, oh, really? I call it 1 degree shift.
Yes.
So it is not about I want to make a large degree. And let me shock you. If you ever see a 1 degree shift in a rocket being launched from Earth, when you get to Mars, it's in thousands. It's measured in thousands.
Yep.
So that is the power of 1 degree shift. I don't want to do everything. Just do it 1 degree, 1 step at a time, and you'll be able to see results. So we are winding down in the next few minutes. So my question next is, have you made a major career transition and you feel like, oh, this wasn't a good one, and how did you overcome that?
I'll take you back to one experience. It wasn't a transition per se. I would say it was a job change. So I joined. I joined an organization at a time in my career, and I had worked with, as I said, when I started working with people like Bankole, that taught you not just the work itself, work ethics, and values,
Mm-hmm.
values
Mm-hmm.
attached to even your work. And then I joined an organization back then that we were deducting employee pays, deducting, which it's not, nobody can identify which it is
Yeah.
because it's not on my it's not my
Mm.
profile. And they're not
Yeah.
paying, remitting payee, they're not remitting
Wow.
pensions. And I tried to influence the change. However, I realized that it was more of leadership. The leader, the
Yeah.
leadership at that time was not open to doing the right things at that
Mm-hmm.
time. And the second thing as well was that they had employees that were more like family members that were on the
Okay.
payroll. They were not performing any official function. And I started querying things like that. That I'm not sure this is the right way to do this. Even if you're going to have them on the payroll, they need to be actively adding value because they are taking value out of the business, which means
Mm-hmm.
it is depriving of some people in the business of that value. When it comes to the monetary value that they should be getting. So those
Mm-hmm.
are some of the key things I picked up at that time. But and I realized that it was the wrong move for me after about 2 months. Honestly, I
Oh,
realized
okay.
it was after about 2 months, and what I did, and I think what I did there was definitely to leave, because I realized that the work does not align with my values and best practice for me at that time. So what I did was redefine my career path. I recharted it at that time as well, and I moved to another organization. And what that experience taught me, and I think it was very, very foundational, is at any time I get into any organization, I will always stand for doing not what is good, but what is right.
Best
So
practice. Yes, please.
yes, so not what is good, because what feels good might not be the right thing. So it was to do what
Very
is
true.
right at that time. So I think that was one career transition I had that did not go, well, the way I investigated I was going to go to, because it was an organization across the country back then, and I felt, okay, you know what, I can influence certain things, I can set up
Mm-hmm.
certain structures in place, but it did not go the way I thought it was going to go. I had to pivot
Mm.
at that time into another role.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. When you were saying this, I was smiling. I'm like, okay, let me see who's going to take the call. But I took the call because I was in that environment for 2 days. I resumed on Monday, and I started on Monday, and I left on Tuesday because somebody told me that, oh, if you don't do this or follow this from the leadership, you can be let go at any time. And before you get to that level, it's easier for you to go let go yourself than telling you to let go, because to come as a stalker.
Yes.
I know it was a tough decision. Somebody was even telling me, oh, that was, how do you know you can't do it? How do you know you can't change it? And I said, from the study that I have made and that I've learned from, if the challenge is from the leadership, it's always difficult to
Yes.
influence.
Yes.
So anything, any process or policy you want to implement, as long as you have the buy-in of the management, of the leadership, it's easier to cascade downward than to want to cascade from bottom up. Is a difficult thing
Yes.
to do. So I took the call. I left 2 days, not 2 months. But it was really a tough decision, I can say. It's easier. We are saying it and we are laughing about it. But because of the fact that you have one skills or other competencies in a different area. And in that, I think for about 2 years, I took time off to work in an organization. I was working as associate facilitator and a management consultant as an HR for like 2 years. And I was getting different recommendations, quote unquote, based on the level of relationship I've had with other people. And that is why I always say this quote, that it is always good to always be prepared, because you
Yes.
never know where you'll be called upon. So
Yes.
from one recommendation,
For
it
another.
was back to another. And I can say this, I'm saying it again. We are saying it and we are smiling about it. It wasn't an easy decision. It was really a tough
Yes.
decision. It's because it's going to affect you as an individual. It's going to affect the value, the principle, the best practice you believe that you have developed over the years. And and I said I don't want to stay in this environment for a long time, because if did I join them or you leave or you become them.
Yes.
If you don't do that, it's just going to be an issue. And I left. I didn't regret that decision, but it was really, really a tough one. But I think I
Yes.
enjoyed it. And thank you so much for sharing that, Samuel. So I think I have like less than two questions, about one or two questions to go. So my next question is going to be, what advice would you have to someone feeling stuck in their current job? What would you say? What do you advise to
Anyone
them?
feeling stuck in their current job? I think the first question I think is more of asking themselves questions. And the first question is, why am I feeling stuck? Why am I
Mm,
feeling this feeling of feeling stuck? So is it the job itself? Is it the organization? Because sometimes you might love the job, but the organization is not offering you career advancement. That's when you feel stuck.
yes, please.
So
Yes,
it's the
please.
key question to first of all understand what is the source of dissatisfaction. That's the
Mm,
first key question. What is the source of dissatisfaction? What is making me feel this way about this job? So it will even be the manager. Maybe that you feel
mm-hmm,
micromanaged or something like that. Because it helps identify better what needs to change. If it is, oh, do I want to move into another role within this organization? So if the organization has advancement, for example, maybe it's just the role that the person is it another job within the organization you'll be looking at, or maybe another organization. If it is the organization, you see the organization you want to change, but you still retain the same job. So it's just to
mm-hmm,
understand if it is with the job, if it is with the people that surround the job, or if it is the organization as well. I think that's the first key question. The next thing to identify is, where can I find? Because
mm,
our job satisfaction, our ability to be satisfied or feel fulfillment in our career is greatly influenced by our jobs or where we are
yeah.
doing it. And it is also, our career is one of the things that fuels different areas in our lives. It
Mm,
fuels even our well-being. It influences even our relationship with people. It affects our finances, definitely. And
mm-hmm,
because for a lot of us, that's the source of finance for a good number of people. So it is also, for example, the reason the person will be feeling stuck is because there has been no pay increase in a number of
mm,
years. So it's first of all identifying what it is, and then finding where can I find the answer to that question. So is it, am I moving organization? Am I changing jobs and whatnot? And if it is not, another key question is there anything for me to learn to move into
mm.
where I need to get to?
So
That's the next
yeah.
key question. So, for example, you feel
Mm,
this job, it feels redundant for you. So it is the job itself. I do not love what I'm doing. It feels redundant for me.
mm.
The next question you want to check is, what do I want to do?
To do, yes.
What do I want to do? And what are the things that excite me? What are the things that I naturally do easily and effortlessly, and they excite me? Because we all have natural strength that we do not even know. For people like
Mm,
yourself now, the way you facilitate, you think it is not everybody can facilitate, not everybody can share their thoughts in a structured manner that recipients or participants of a session receive it and they know what to do with that information. Not everybody can. It is
mm-hmm,
also knowing what your unfair or natural advantages and how can you make it a career. That's also it's
mm,
all I always say that feeling stuck in your career is a great opportunity to reinvent yourself because it offers you
mm-hmm.
an opportunity to identify what it is that you want to do. So that's also
Do.
something again, to look at. What will I find exciting and how is there any gap between where I am and that thing I greatly desire when it comes to learning, network, education, whatever it is, whatever form it comes as, identifying that gap. So those are some of the things I would mention and research as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Samuel. I think you have answered. This is like the last advice that I have as a question, which I think you have given, and I'll say that it's a privilege having you on this
Oh,
today's
thank you so
session.
much for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much, and I believe that people have learned one or two things and the other. And if you miss this, I'll be dropping this back on different platforms. People can easily go back and check. Thank you so much, Samuel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
It's
so
nice
much for
meeting
having me.
you and nice to hear from you again. And do enjoy
Yes.
the rest of your day. Bye.
And
Be
you
great.
too. Yeah,
All
bye.
right. Thank you so much. Bye.